Good morning, everybody. This is Anthony, Be Honest from Mission Star Podcast. As I get into frame, and I also start some music. There we go. Okay. Well, guys, we're back. Another week, another podcast episode. And before this, actually, hang on. I need to close my door so that no unwanted guests pop in. So, yeah. Anyways.
Like family members who just don't understand.
I know, right? With me today, is none other than the Batman to my Robin, Greg Dietz.
Wait, I'm Batman to your Robin? That seems backwards.
Yeah, I meant to say it that backwards, yeah. Anyways.
I was going to say, like, I don't do nearly enough for the site to be Batman.
But yeah, so we're here. We're going to talk about all the things happened this past week. And let's get to it. So I got some topics I can talk about. I think we should start with this one just because it was reported yesterday. Give me a minute. Put this in the current topic box. Kojima and Del Toro still plan to work on new project. All right. Hopefully that fits. No, it doesn't. Okay. Well, I'll just do that. There we go. Anyways, so as we all know, Kojima is no longer with Konami, and is now going to do his own thing. Whatever it be, it's going to be either him done with the game industry or going to make a new game with somebody or even Kickstarter. There have been some reports that him and Guillermo del Toro, I can't say his full name, have been in talks in terms of like starting a new project, and some believe that it possibly could be a continuation of what they're working on PT, but their own thing. The thing is, the interesting thing about this is that while they can definitely try and strive for doing that, the problem is that the engine they use is under Konami. Konami owns that Fox engine. So if they were to recreate something similar like that with that type of graphic fidelity, they would have to remake that engine or somehow get some of that code and continue it. And to be fair, that engine was never finished in the first place. But it did take them 5 years to get to that point.
Are you talking about the engine for Silent Hills?
Yes.
The one that was used in PT?
Yes.
Well, that's the thing about PT that I think a lot of people kind of overlook is that that game, it looked hyper-realistic because of the way that they built it. And all they did was build a hallway. An uninteractive hallway. Everything that you see, everything the player sees, is built in a very specific way. Something similar to something you'd see in, like, I don't know, Five Nights at Freddy's.
Mm-hmm.
So as that was awesome, and it was, terrifying for people, it's certainly not like, how do I say this? It's definitely not a game, more of an experience, and I would like to see those two make a game.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like, it would be really cool to see them make a game. I think that what they were thinking, or the idea behind what Silent Hills was pretty damn cool, even though it scared the shit out of me. But at the same time, I can definitely see what direction they were going into. And what I've heard, like, they had, there's no bad blood. Like, they generally like each other. So,
I wouldn't imagine that those two have anything against each other.
No.
It's all go fuck yourself, Konami.
Pretty much. And the thing about it too is that if you like in his games, you can see it. Kojima is like really influenced by movies. especially in the Metal Gear
Right.
series. You definitely see a lot of cutscenes and a lot of kind of cinematic scores that are really great. It's awesome. And they definitely lend to him working with Del Toro, but also him, like, in a way, wanting to make a film, but in a game form. Even more so than Metal Gear. So, it's cool. When this one will come into fruition, if they do make a game, it depends. I mean, like, Kojima, I believe, is now out officially. Like, I'm not sure if he's still on right now or he's, like, completely done. Because last thing I heard, this is something we reported last week, that they had disbanded. So it could be Kojima's finally, off to do his own thing. The terms of, like, what he can do is we have to wait and see. So, and I will bring up, actually, let me read you a quote from IGN that talked about this. So, quote, "We were in the planning." Oh, this is Del Toro talking right now. "We were in the planning stages, and it's a shame it's not going to happen," Del Toro said. "We were talking about really pushing the boundaries of the new consoles and making the new game really mess up your head. One of the great moments in Metal Gear Solid was Psycho Mantis. The idea that a game can actually interact with you and stuff like that." So they're definitely, he has some ideas in mind, and I'm pretty sure Kojima had the same thing. So we'll probably see these guys in the near future for sure.
Yeah, I don't doubt this is it. I mean, I doubt this is it. Sorry, I doubt this is the last we hear of them working together. And if they decide to actually kickstart or go with a different publishing company, I think it's great. Kojima has made. That's the thing about Kojima's games. They aren't for me. I liked the first Metal Gear, and that was it. I respect the Shenmue 3.
Mm-hmm.
It recently is getting kickstarted, as everyone has seen if you're following anything in the game industry. The problem with the game, though, the problem with the game getting made, is that it costs a lot more than $2 million to make a game.
Oh, yeah.
Especially a game on the scale of Shenmue.
Definitely.
A game that was going to be on the scale of what Silent Hills was is going to cost a lot more than a few $1 million. And that's a big issue that is definitely going to come across if they decide to kickstart. So I sincerely hope they don't kickstart, and that those two go to a big publisher.
Yeah.
And go, hey, we need $20 million to make this game, or we need 30, we need a budget, right. And they get a bigger budget than what Kickstarter can offer. That's what I hope. I sincerely hope that, because that would not only allow them to have the freedom that they want, considering they have the names there. Because I mean, realistically, if you found out that Kojima and Del Toro were making a new game, they would already have your money, correct?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing too, that what Kojima separates from the other developers who have kickstarted games and has succeeded is that Kojima right now, his name alone is hot. In terms, when I mean hot, I mean like there will be companies like Microsoft, Nintendo, Ubisoft. Any company right now would beg and just want Kojima to be on their team to make a game for them, because Kojima's games have been great for most of the games he made. Yeah, they've been great, and they've been critically acclaimed. So he won't find a hard time finding another job if he chooses to do so. But in terms of like what it is, I don't know. It may be something where it may be the thing that Del Toro and Kojima.
Yeah, I definitely think that like what they should do is, and this is going to sound bad coming from the perspective of somebody who is not a fan of exclusive shit, but they should go to PlayStation and be straight up like, hey, we want to make an exclusive for your console. We just need the money.
Yeah. I mean, like, the Metal Gear series have been pretty faithful to the Sony product. So they got good rapport with them. I think that would be a pretty good move. Sony right now is helping out Capcom with their latest fighting game, Street Fighter V. So I could see that happening. the funny thing I think about now that you bring it up with Kickstarter is that while they could do a Kickstarter, I feel like the bigger these projects come to Kickstarter, the more realization that people are starting to get, like, making games costs a crap ton of money.
Yeah, it does.
So, like, it's kind of interesting to see the fact that now people are like, oh, you want what? For how much? For this game? I don't know.
Think about it this way. Like, there are games out there that, come out and they cost, $30 million, $40 million, and they don't do anything. They don't make that money back at all. Mm-hmm. But a game like Shenmue has all this popularity and all this, like, that's the whole idea that Sony was taking with Shenmue 3 was the popularity level. Like, how can we bring people into how can we bring new people into the Shenmue franchise while also seeing if there's enough people that want to play it?
Yeah, definitely.
For Sony, it was a huge gamble. It's two games on the Dreamcast that didn't sell well at all. Mm-hmm. They really, really did not sell well. Mm-hmm. And people can argue that with me as much as they want, but the reality of the situation is they did not sell. So, the the problem that I see is, from Sony's perspective, if somebody like, just with the Shenmue thing and how they're handling it, if somebody like Kojima and Del Toro came up to Sony and said, hey, we want to basically do what Konami is not doing anymore because of certain reasons, what can we do to move this forward? I couldn't imagine Sony passing that up and not giving them a budget. I could not imagine Sony just going, well, let's kickstart this thing and see if there's an audience for it. Because that's a thing that they have to understand. That's a thing that I've seen on, like with let's take PT for example, or in this situation. PT was so popular that people are selling their PS4s with PT on it. Mm-hmm. On eBay for like a lot of money. At least they were. I think somebody put a stop to that or something.
Yeah.
But it's just, there's an audience there, Sony. There's an audience there for, I don't know why I'm saying that to Sony. And if
Sony managed to listen to this podcast.
Yeah. I don't want to see them go to Kickstarter. I really, really don't. I want to see them go, hey, so-and-so company is giving us a budget to make this new game. Here you go. And it gets made. That's what I want to see.
Agreed. Time will only tell, but I think that I don't think Kojima will have any problems finding a job soon. That's what I'm getting at. All right, so moving on to our next topic. And I'm actually putting it here. I'm going to go here, actually, because I'm going to save the other couple because they're related to each other. So, now, when I saw those at E3, I wasn't really convinced then, and then when I watched the E3 video, I was like, okay, you convinced me. So, recently, there was an announcement that Tomb Raider is coming to the PS4, and also the PC later this year, in launch holiday 2016. I'll take that back. The game, maybe the same thing for the PC. I don't know. That's actually the console, PS4 for sure. PC, I don't know exactly. But there's this PC version coming, and like all games that are quote unquote exclusives, they're only a time exclusive. So Tomb Raider is no longer a exclusive to Xbox One, and it's now becoming a multi-platform game, which shouldn't surprise anyone. But then again, the internet just wants to believe, and no, that's not how the way it works.
Right.
Yeah. So,
So are you asking me what I think of the situation?
I mean, like,
Is that-
I mean, like, my thing about it is that, like, it's cool. I mean, like, I think the announcement. I mean, as a PS4 owner, I welcome it. But then again,
Here's the thing. First off, what makes me laugh about this situation immediately is the fact that not once, not one fucking time, did anyone say that it was never coming to the PS4, that it was an Xbox exclusive title. No one fucking said that. People took that idea because they thought that's what they heard. But for me, I had always heard that it was a timed exclusive. The word timed in front of it was always present. So when, like, it was announced that it was coming to the PS4, I was like, yeah, no shit. Even fucking Funhouse Crew put out a thing. They were like, yeah, we talked about this 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And like, back in January, they had a fucking video that popped up on the No, and they were like, it's a timed exclusive, so we just don't have a release date on you know. I mean, shit, we didn't necessarily have a release date at the time either for the Xbox One. We just knew that it was on Xbox One first, then on PlayStation 4. The fact that it's a year later, it's a little shitty, I guess, for the people who really want to play, play the new Tomb Raider on the PS4 now. But, you know, that's just the reality of the world we live in now. It's...
Yeah.
What money... Hey, I'm a developer and I want to make a game. Who wants to pay me more money for some stupid exclusive? I mean, look at Destiny, for crying out loud. Like, they had an exclusive a strike mission on their console that nobody else got. And very recently did the Xbox One get that exclusive. So, I mean, it's just the way that it is. And
yeah. I mean, like... sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I guess in this situation it is a little shittier, only in the pretense that, like, it's a full fucking game.
Right. And the thing about it, too, is, like, we've been gamers for a very long time, and we know, like, when the consoles came out, like, early on, and we're talking about, we're talking about, like, I'd say, you know, the Nintendo and Sega days, you know, and from there on, like, it was always that console war mentality of, like, which console should I get? Which should I think is better? And since then, there's always been this kind of rivalry between consoles of which ones were better, which ones were not. Like, in this day and age, like, the whole console war thing is not as it is not as a thing as it used to be back in the day. It's definitely now it's more about how much money can I make.
That's the thing. The thing that's interesting to me, Anthony, about the console war situation is that's something back in the day. Nintendo does what Nintendo don't, and all that shit. What was the thing that sold consoles? Video games. It was the only thing that sold consoles. Why? Because that was the only thing available on consoles. Nowadays, you buy an Xbox, you buy a PS4, hell, even the Wii U has extra stuff to do. Every fucking video game console comes with Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least a Netflix app.
Yeah.
Or Hulu Plus. I mean, you know, people are like, well, the Wii U is Nintendo's just about video games. It's just about video games. Then why do they have these media type of things on the system? Right. If it's just about video games. They're trying to compete. Now, they're not as competitive as Sony and Microsoft, but because they're just trying to work with their own thing. But they're still competitive. And did the internet shut off?
No, you're still on. It's just kind of going in and out, so just FYI.
Okay. But you need to fix that.
I know. It's the Comcast, whatever.
Anyway, so when you buy, like, and that's something that I think is important to understand, is that the game companies, and this is a trend that I've noticed, and I could be wrong about this, but something that I've noticed is that they are understanding that the primary reason people buy an Xbox, PS4, or Wii U is for video games.
Exactly.
It's to play games. And it's not to use this fucking device that I can talk to and tell what to do. It's not because I can watch my media on it. I can go get a cheap Blu-ray player and do the exact same thing. It's not something that is... Stop listening.
What?
Stop listening.
What?
Guess what heard me?
Huh. For those who don't know, Greg is recording off the Xbox One camera. So literally, it could, at any given moment, given the right commands, could shut off its Xbox.
It sometimes misunderstands me a lot too.
Yeah.
And I never use because you can just the way you can't buy an Xbox One with Kinect now. You just can't find it. And that's and there's slowly, as something I mentioned yesterday when talking about how the Xbox One is progressing as a console. When Don Matrick was in control of Microsoft as the CEO, it was falling apart. He wanted to do all these things that nobody wanted on the console. Now I did defend what Microsoft was trying to do.
Yeah.
But as time has gone on, their biggest problem was that they weren't concentrating on video games.
Agreed.
And I've always said that. And the same goes for PlayStation. They were not concentrating on video games. I mean, if you go back to when they announced the Xbox One and the PS4, look at how many games were talked about compared to how many games are talked about now.
Right, for sure.
At E3, at E3.
Right, definitely.
It's just things are changing now. And the major one that I talked about yesterday, the one that got interesting for me, was when Ed McMillan had made Binding of Isaac. People said, I really want this on... people were like, I want to have Super Meat Boy... Not Super Meat Boy, I'm sorry. Binding of Isaac, I want that on my Xbox One, or I want that on my Xbox 360.
Right.
And Ed McMillan was like, I'm never working with Microsoft again. I'm never doing anything with Microsoft again. They're an awful company to work with, and screw it. And I thought for sure I was never going to see another Ed McMillan game on an Xbox. However, yesterday morning when I downloaded Tembo, the badass elephant, guess what I saw on there? Fresh and brand new. Binding of Isaac.
Yeah. That was...
So clearly things are changing at Microsoft for the better. And the same goes for PlayStation. I think that they are also doing something very different than they have in the past, and sales are being driven of both consoles simply on games. And now we're going to get back into this competition of getting exclusives.
Right, for sure. First off, before we continue with our next topic, shout outs to everyone who just suddenly popped in. Again, if you enjoy this show, enjoy this podcast, definitely subscribe to this Twitch channel, or follow. Subscription button may come soon at a later date, but thanks for showing up, guys. The next topic I want to bring up. So there has been a Resident Evil 2 fan remake in the works. Recently, this was shown off in the Unity engine. Let me actually update the topic. There we go. So, Resident Evil 2 fan remake was done in Unity, and interesting. It looks cool. But the thing that I think the reason why this is available is the fact that there definitely is we had a Resident Evil remake for Resident Evil Revelations 2. There definitely was a remake for other Resident Evil games. Recently, Resident Evil 0 was announced as a remake as well. And now I think everybody is kind of wanting Capcom to do a remake of Resident Evil 2. Funny that how... it was funny, literally I would say about, maybe a couple years ago, even this past year, people were, really hesitant on remakes, because, they want to see new games. And to see that now people who saw the last several remakes from Capcom, which were really good, they want more. Like it's funny how that works, especially with the Resident Evil series. So with the fan remake, like it's definitely a showing that people want Resident Evil 2 remake, which I would be in favor for, to be honest. I would love to see a HD remake of Resident Evil 2, and that would be really freaking cool. I think what they showed here in Unity is awesome too, as well. But yeah, like I think like with enough manpower and money behind it, I would love to see that.
Well, you know what's funny is somebody was talking about like I'm tired of the remakes and I'm tired of the remasters and shit like that and coming out on new consoles, and I go here's why in my opinion it's better to make remakes and remasters for the new consoles. Movies, okay? Movies, for example.
Right.
The best movies always come out on the new format. Mm-hmm. If a movie was made in the 50s and people love it, like Psycho, for example.
Yeah.
Psycho has a Blu-ray release coming up or some shit, or already has. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But it's on Blu-ray. That is an important factor that I think goes into when you talk about video games as a medium. It is hard to play certain games without certain consoles. If you want to go back and play a specific game, you either have to have the console or you have to have certain elements that go into that.
And the thing about that too is like now in a day and age, like, and we discussed this thing a couple episodes ago, like digital media itself is more online and like a license. It's no longer a physical thing, as it's kind of being that way for the near future. So for some of these games that are, unless you own a console and the physical version of the game, like the remake version would be just a digital game you have to download and buy. You know, for better or for worse, and for how long the servers will keep that up is how long, you know, you get to play that game.
Right. What I think they should do is kind of what, and I hate to use this as an example considering the, you know, clear history with it, but the Master Chief Collection.
Right.
They didn't need to remaster Halo 3 or 4. Or even ODST for that, for that example, but definitely needed to update Halo 1 and 2. However, if you're like, I don't want to play the remastered version, I want to play it in its original visual entirety, you can, and that's awesome. I think that, like, you know, people forget that there was an amazing remastered cartridge for the Super NES. Mm-hmm. People forget that it existed. The All-Star Pack.
Yeah, definitely.
Like it's not a new feature. It's just a lot more frequently now, and that's fine. If a game came out on the past that's hard to get now, absolutely remake that shit. Mm-hmm. And I think Resident Evil is a perfect franchise to be remade, and like come out with a disc that has 1, 2, and 3 on it in a remastered state. Absolutely do that.
Yeah.
And then hell, come out with 4, 5, and 6 on a remastered disc.
Well, 4, 5, yes. 6, you can argue.
Well, I'm putting those 3 into the same category because they're the ones that started the over-the-shoulder thing.
Yeah.
For Resident Evil.
Yeah.
And that's another thing is like recently on Half Empty, Hutch, it's the Hutch who plays on Wednesdays. He had played Resident Evil. But the latest, I think it was Resident Evil 1, the very latest remake, which I think was on GameCube, and something they had done in the game was they kind of fixed or got rid of the tank controls because the way that controllers work now is better than they did when it first came out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're back.
We're back, all right.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys.
My point is that make a remake of old games. Make a remake of games that are hard to get now, just simply because the consoles aren't made anymore, and you got to find an old console that works, and then you got to find a copy of the game. So definitely remake old games. but try to remake them. And I don't mean remake as in like I think the Final Fantasy VII remake is fine as long as they stick to the general gameplay of Final Fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the turn-based action. I think if they stick to that, everything will be fine. Because realistically, the gameplay of that game isn't like that difficult to stick to, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
But like a bullshit remaster or remake or re-release is oh my god, now I can't think of the goddamn name for some reason. Last of Us. Like, the game had come out a year ago, and then the PS4 comes out, and boom, there's a remaster version. I'm like, that's stupid.
Yeah, definitely. There are definitely cases where like having a remastered version of a game can be a bad thing, where it may come out too soon or too early. I mean, and like it literally, like the game might have just come out like a few years ago, and suddenly there's a remaster, and that's the case where it's like, okay, you need to stop. But definitely, I think that having remasters of games that are hard to get is definitely an A+ in my book. And Capcom has been pretty good on remakes so far, so why stop now? Keep
yeah,
going.
like I plan on getting the Rare Replay and the Mega Man Legacy Collection. I absolutely plan on getting those.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I actually, it's funny. I'm gonna do the same actually, because like I played through Mega Man 1 and 2. I haven't played through the rest. So, with the exception of like Mega Man 9 and 10. But
Well, I get, like, when I stream, I get ragey very easily. And I think it's only when somebody's watching me, because I'm like trying to put on a good show, and then immediately I'm like, I can't do this.
Right.
And I get mad, but because I don't get that mad by myself. I never get that mad by myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there will be a lot of wonderful rage moments when I play Mega Man.
Agreed. So, I think the next topic I feel... And something we discussed about last night, actually. So, last weekend was Evo weekend. There was much hype to be held, and it was great. I watched a lot of it, as much as I could, and it was pretty freaking awesome. What came out of that were several things, one of which I'm showing right now, this clip, that made it onto ESPN. They actually had a small segment talking about this guy who thought the match was over, and it wasn't. So then, like, before he even got to the sticks, the other guy just destroyed him, and he basically just popped off, celebrated, because, like, dude, there's another round. You're messing up. So that instance from Evo for Guilty Gear made it onto ESPN. And this conversation was brought up again because of this event. And this is something I kind of been said before, is that we don't particularly need ESPN to kind of verify that we exist. We have Twitch and everything else. We have streaming. Like, TVs are a dying age, but it's cool to see the fact that this made it to ESPN, and like this was definitely something that that was cool to see. In terms of what comes out of it, just more exposure.
I had a lot of fun watching it.
Definitely. And Evil itself, the past weekend was ridiculous. There were so many storylines, so many things that happened. It was great. It was really, really cool. So, yeah, I can go on and talk about everything Evo, but the reason why I brought this up also, not because of the ESPN thing as well, is that recently actually the Pro Gaming League announced that they are having drug tests soon to be mandated on these professional players. And the reason for that is because apparently in an interview with one of the Counter-Strike players, is that he actually just admitted, and he didn't think it was a big deal, that him and his team, and this I believe is for the championship, and he talked about it afterwards, that they were all on Adderall to play in their final game to win and essentially win the tournament in Counter-Strike Go. So it led me to think, and this is happened in ESL as well, and it's happening in the Pro Gaming League. I'm pretty sure that this may lead to other major gaming leagues in terms of like anything that requires quick reactions. To look into this, maybe we should do the same thing, which I think will probably may lead into. But also got me thinking, like, if we're going to be parodying as far as like how sports are in terms of like how teams are made and how exactly is essentially make a video game league where it's essentially parodying sports, it made me wonder: are we going to eventually have a players' union then for gamers? Like, is that going to be a thing? It's interesting. It's interesting to see all this unfold. But in terms of like how this would affect the game and the competitive scenes for all games, essentially. I think it could. I think that it's interesting to see that, you know, we've gone this far without having a drug testing system because we never needed it. But like, it's interesting.
Yeah, I think. Sorry. I think if there's a drug out there that can enhance the ability of the competitor, then that's definitely something that needs to be tested. If a competitor decides to relax with some pot, I don't think that's necessarily to be tested for. Mm-hmm. You know, like we talked about last week, it's becoming more and more of a sport. It's becoming more and more of a public thing, and whether you want it to or not, there's just the nature of the beast, and the world is going to get to the point where, and this is from my perspective, this is, I think, from most people's perspective, it's going to get to the point where it's such a household name to talk about MLG competitors. I don't know if you want to call them MLG, but, you know, like video game competitors, to the extent that, you know, like, a kid grows up and says, I want to be, you know, he looks up at his idol who just won EVO, or he looks up to his idol who just won some big tournament. Like, that's going to be a thing. And I think it's important to understand that there's a lot more that goes into these than just playing a video game. Right,
definitely. There definitely is other factors that contribute to it as well. I think I think having this now is a good thing. I think that there's definitely been times where somebody says like they're on something, or they're trying to have an edge, whether it be drinking or taking some drug, so they can get a competitive edge. And no big gaming scene ever looked into it. Also, hello, new person, Holy Grail game. So like it's been a long time coming. I think as the bigger these esports gaming scenes become, the more numbers bring in, the kind of pushing the boundaries of the rules will also play into effect. So I think it's a long time coming, and I think it's a good thing for everything, because it keeps players more honest, and it keeps them, you know, on their game, quote unquote. But also, like, I don't want to make it to where, like, you know, like the NFL, like, you know, whatever this person does in their off time, you know, are going to get affected by the rules. And then drug tests, and it's like, you were positive for weed, you are now suspended or fired. Like, there is definitely a degree as what people do for other off time to definitely a degree of playing the game.
This will come from a situation where if a company sponsors you, and because that's the craziest thing about individual sports, and I say individual in the idea that if you're not on a team and there isn't a union and all that jazz, you could just be dropped by a sponsor, and that's it.
Right.
You know, it won't be a situation where you're fired.
Yeah, they could definitely do it if they wanted to. But yeah, it's gonna depend on how, like, whatever the contract says, or whatever, how far the drug testing is gonna be, and how flexible it's going to be. In my opinion, I do think that with this drug testing in place, I think that they'll probably drug test them an hour, maybe an hour or two before the event of the day of, and whether like that person can, yay or nay play. Right. I think that having it like in the middle of summer and when they're off doing their own thing or they're not training, it's like I think it's kind of ridiculous. So there's definitely should be some flexibility, but like it's definitely
I don't think that like that's another thing about Major League Sports is that even on team-based stuff like League of Legends or StarCraft or the bigger ones where it's a big team in like Halo or something to that effect, where they're very based in an idea of a team where they have second stringers to come in.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I don't think that we'll get to the point like we are with professional sports, where there is a set number of teams, there's a set number of players, and a new team can't just come in. They have to do all this extra stuff. Whereas right now, the way that it works is if I go, hey, I know 16 guys who can get together and make a team for this one thing, we can just enter. We can just literally enter, and we'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we'll ever get past that point with gaming. I don't think we'll get to the point we are now with that whole thing. So
right, definitely.
But I'm glad that we are getting to the point where unions and drug testing and stuff like that is becoming a thing, simply for the fact that it's clearly it's becoming more of a public thing, becoming more in the face of the public, and like, hey, it's a real thing, deal with it.
Yeah,
so. Definitely.
Especially with recent events of like that Evo moment happening on ESPN. Like it definitely competitive games are becoming more mainstream as time goes on.
I got frustrated with that scene though because that's all they talked about was Washige's mess up. That's all they talked about. They didn't talk about anything else. They didn't talk about the numbers of people that were there. They didn't talk about the other competitors. They didn't show the winning match. They didn't do any. It was just look at this nerd fuck up. That's all.
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing with the other thing that got on ESPN as well with K-Brad doing his Stone Cold impression at CEO. So right now, yeah, it does look like they're kind of just having only footage of particularly just fighting games on ESPN for comedy humor. But at the same time, like I feel,
bad press is still press.
Yeah, like it's it's still press, and whether that makes them more intrigued, like, because they're really big into personalities, ESPN. So if they're like, this is interesting. Like these big personalities in the scene may intrigue them to go and check it out more. But we'll see. I mean, like as far as like if they plan to do that,
it could bring someone in to be like, I'm interested to see someone fuck up like this, so I'm going to check out next year's Evo. Then they watch the whole event, and they go, that was amazing, I got to watch the next event. So it got, like a blooper, if you will, got them interested in Evo. I understand that. However, I'd like to see it get past that point.
Agreed. So moving on to the last topic of the day. Because this has been something I've experienced personally, as well as others who are trying to find their way into the beta. So hang on, let me put it up right now. So where is my video? Let's see where I just had. Anyway, so I'm gonna. Oh, here it is. Okay, so Street Fighter V beta launched this past week. It will launch on Thursday. Those who pre-ordered the game got a access to the beta to play it early and to basically help out Capcom, how it plays out. Well, it is a beta for a reason, and when it launched, nobody was able to get in, and like at the most, maybe 30 to 5 minutes. Like my time with the game, I only had but 5 minutes to play the game. And since then, like people they've been angry, but it's the kind of anger you look at them as like, dude, it's a beta for a reason.
Yeah.
So like right now, what it is testing out the netcode. They're gonna test out the content delivery service later on today. So Cammy and Birdie will be available to play later on today when you update the beta. But again, like they've also come out and said like, we're sorry, we're going to go and extend the beta for the issues, which I really think they shouldn't, but at the same time I feel like they should.
No, I think they, if first off, they shouldn't apologize for shit. They should just be like, due to it being a little bit wonkier than we expected, we're going to extend it. Like, they shouldn't apologize. It's the fucking beta. That's the thing that I think a lot of gamers don't want to fucking understand. Like, yes, I'm sure it's frustrating to get the beta for something you're excited about, and you go in and you cannot play it. Like, I understand how frustrating that would be. I would be frustrated too. However, it's not a demo. It's a fucking beta. You have literally been outsourced to test the game.
Yes.
That's the only reason that you're playing it right now. And I think it's great that they're extending it. Either A, it's helping them with further information down the road, and they can make the game a better product when it releases. And it also appeases the people who didn't get to play it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I was going to say,
because they couldn't get in. Hey, we're extending it. A lot of people didn't get a chance to play it, and we need to test out some more things, so we're extending it. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Go for it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. It is definitely a good thing because in the long run, like it is definitely going to help out Street Fighter V in the netcode. Like this stress testing of like how it's going to be when it launches will nothing be good stuff for them in the future because the game itself looks good. I think that the story should be interesting. I'm kind of curious what happens, because it's taking place after Third Strike. I think what really does help, and it's been shown in prior games, and you kind of saw this with other games that didn't have great netcode. It's like people don't play it online as much, and that game that seems to grow if the netcode is crap. So it's definitely...
Well, that's the thing about fighting games that I think a lot of people don't put into context is it's all about Twitch reactions. Well, not all about, but a large majority of fighting games is about hitting that button slightly faster than your opponent. And if the internet can't keep up with that, then there's no point in playing it online.
Agreed. So yeah, like for much of the Street Fighter V woes that is in beta right now, it's beta for a reason. And this only gives Capcom all the information they need to make the netcode in the game better for when it comes out next year. So, everybody who's complaining, stop complaining. It's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's gonna do it for us.
That it?
Yeah, I mean, like there was this one other topic I could bring up, but it was a rumor, and I don't want to talk about stuff that is rumor based. So
right.
It's for a new show. Yeah, pretty much. It's summer. It's a dog days of summer. Like news for game stuff is kind of lackluster.
Dog days of summer.
It is. So with that, Greg, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me on just about anywhere that you search for Chub Rock Geek. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, literally not literally, but just about anywhere if you search Chub Rock Geek, you'll find me. I also stream now. It'll now be every Saturday on Half Empty Energy Tank on Twitch. If you go to twitch.tv/Half Empty Energy Tank, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll stream every Saturday. We also have a slew of other shows that of other personalities and games, so it's a fun channel to go to if you're into a variety of video games. Also, I write reviews and very, very occasionally articles on the website missionstartpodcast.com. As a matter of fact, in the span of 2 days, I have written 2 reviews. The first one being Ant-Man, And I recently, literally during the recording of this podcast, uploaded the review for Tembo, the Badass Elephant.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Anthony, I sent you. I'm not on the Twitch page right now, but if I sent you the link,
Right.
in your, if you want to try to put that in the chat for me.
Oh yeah, sure, definitely. Let me just copy this link and paste it in here. Bam! There you go, guys. Check it out. Check out the review. Click on it and read all about it. Awesome. So, if you want to follow me personally, you can follow me on Twitter at DefectiveNaruto, as you see there. You can follow the work that me and Greg do, along with others, at MissionStartPodcast.com. If you enjoy this audio podcast or video podcast, the audio version of this podcast is up on iTunes and Stitcher, as well as on our website at Mission Start Podcast. Just look it up. You can also check out, if you enjoy conventions, if you enjoy just kind of convention talk, we go to anime and other conventions and critique them. Definitely check out the Con Over. We have the newest one will be up next week. We're talking about San Diego Comic-Con, and that's going to be a huge podcast. A lot of us went, and it was a lot of fun, and we're talking about everything we saw and experience. And if you enjoy, speaking of comic books, if you enjoy comic books, HBO, entertainment, movies, all that good stuff, check out the Rolling 20s. They recently had a podcast that went up this past week. That it was a live recording at not Evo, live at San Diego Comic-Con, as they discussed their thoughts, what they saw, what they experienced like on day 2. And it is a hell of a podcast. So I'd say you guys check it out. Also on iTunes and Stitcher. And that's going to do it for us. So until then, we'll be back next week. Oh yeah, one more thing. I forgot. If you're watching right now, please hit the follow button. Follow us on this Twitch channel. We'll have more shows on this Twitch channel for sure. I keep saying that, but trust me, there are in the works. But definitely there'll be more shows. This show will be up every morning, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pending if anything happens in real life, But and definitely follow us here to more footage, more news, talk stuff. Anyways, with that, I say goodbye, and we'll see you guys.